Do you guys ever do research into like comic books? You're looking at a theory that you've been discussing for the last few weeks, and somehow while looking into a deep dive into that theory, there's like a branch in that theory that you never really noticed before. So then you kind of take that side road, and then that side road has another side road, and then that side road has like 13 freeways, and before you realize that you're literally in the multiverse of madness. That was my night.
WandaVision.
Hello everyone, I'm Jason O'Fell, and oh my god, what an episode we had last night of WandaVision. Now, if you have any theories yourself, please leave them down below in the comments so we can discuss. I love having a kiki with all of you. A reminder that in this video we will be discussing last night's episode, so there will be spoilers, and they might be a little spoiler heavy, so if you don't really want to deal with that flow, go watch the episode and then come back and we will have a total kiki about it, okay? If you don't care about spoilers, sit down, buckle up. We're going to go on a little Fast and Furious ride, okay? The big reveal of this episode is something I have been throwing out for weeks now. And that was the identity of the she that has been mentioned by numerous townspeople in Westview. And the she is not Wanda, it is Agnes, aka, as I've been saying, Agatha Harkness all along. Now, I do wonder if Agnes has been controlling Wanda at certain points, but that is something I have a feeling that will be revealed or explained soon. So we're just going to buckle down and wait for that to happen. Now, I want to get into some breakdown of comic book lore in regards to Agatha. Now, Agatha Harkness first appeared in Fantastic Four number 94. She appears as the governess to Franklin Richards, who is Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son. Now, I know we don't have Franklin Richards in the MCU at this point. I would like to state that it's really kind of interesting to note that a lot of the possibilities of villains in the WandaVision series are all characters that have run-ins with Franklin Richards first before becoming a part of Wanda's story, leading essentially to the House of M. And as I said in another video, Mephisto himself has a run-in with Franklin Richards, which splinters his soul into 5 fragments. 2 of those fragments are used to create Wanda's twins. And in regards to Agatha and all of this, she does have a little bit of a complicated history with Wanda, usually revolving around Wanda's use of her powers or Wanda's children. Agatha reappears when Wanda's children begin exhibiting some strange, odd behavior. Essentially, they start vanishing for long periods of time because they're not real. It's also during this timeline that Vision is dismantled, which really rocks Wanda's psyche, making her mentally unstable. Do you actually see where we're going with this? Now, when Mephisto claims that the children are both fragments of his soul, and he absorbs them both, Agatha, rather than fighting Mephisto and protecting the children, she just wipes Wanda's memory to save her from the trauma of her children being killed. She later, of course, resorts to restoring Wanda's memory, which then leads us into House of M. A few videos ago, I was stating the belief that I thought Agatha was actually working for Nightmare, but after seeing the fly on the curtain in Agnes's house, I now think she's actually clearly working for Mephisto. So for non-comic book people, Mephisto's first reveal in the comics is actually in the form of a fly. So I actually want to give a shout out to a gentleman named Chad Moss, who actually brought that to my attention and reminded me of that. So thank you for keeping it real, sir. And honestly, for you guys, if you can think of anything, or you think that I might be forgetting or giving more of a gloss than a shine to something, please comment below. Let's have a kiki. Let's talk about this. That's what makes it fun. So we now know in the television series that Agatha is bad, but we really don't have a clear motive yet. We also, as I said, had the callback with the fly to Mephisto. But did you also notice that in Agatha's lair, it's giving off dark energy? Because it's the exact same color scheme of dark energy that Dormammu gives off in Doctor Strange. Now, I actually did say in another video that I thought Dottie was actually Clea, who is actually Dormammu's niece in the comics and actually the future Mrs. Strange. We still don't know if that's actually true or not, but we did make sure we had a reaction shot of Dottie. And there is a lot of belief out there that Dottie's really Mephisto in disguise, because in the second episode, remember, Agnes makes sure that Wanda knows that Dottie is the one who runs everything around here. But I also think that's a misdirect. Marvel's really good at misdirect. Now, a lot of people have been talking about there being an Easter egg in Agatha's villain lair, but I actually think they want you to see it. And that happens to actually be a book, or the Darkhold, or Chthon scrolls. Now, I had to freeze frame this actually a few times to figure out the cosmic energy that was actually glowing from the book. It is glowing yellow and orange. We know the Mind Stone is yellow. We know the Soul Stone is orange. So I do wonder if the Darkhold is giving off properties of those stones. And of course, seeing the Darkhold is the beginning of the rabbit hole because it immediately made me think of Chthon, also known as the god of chaos. Now, in the comics, the Darkhold was originally written on indestructible parchment of flesh. Great. This sounds totally kid-friendly. By Chthon as a book that might serve as a conduit to Earth in regards to Chthon's influence and power. Now, this is not a good book. And outside of Doctor Strange, hello, having the possession of the book for a time, it's usually in the hands of villains, including a villain with the last name Doom. And if you remember my last video, I theorized that Doctor Doom is the main big bad behind the scenes for WandaVision. Once again, let me know what you think in the comments down below, okay? But let's take a second and let's actually look at Chthon as a possible villain. Now, we know that the Scarlet in Scarlet Witch is from chaos magic. We know that is the power of Chthon. We also know that from the comics that Chthon created witches. We could see it being him as another possibility because there's all the hex shapes we have seen. Now, I think that's confusing actually to the average person because I think most people associate witches with the pentagram. But just so you know, in Germany, the word hex actually means witch. Now, in Darkhold number 6, we see Wanda, we see Doctor Strange, and we see Agatha learn that the events that have happened in Wanda's life seem to fit with the prophecy in the Darkhold of the hour of Chthon's return. As I said, we could seriously go down a rabbit hole. I'm also wondering if we could be heading towards Wanda being the Nexus being for this specific universe, which in the comics, she actually is a representative of them, as is Vision and another upcoming MCU villain, Kang the Conqueror, who we know will actually be in Ant-Man 3, Quantumania. Now, for those of you not in the know, Nexus beings are rare individual entities with the ability to affect probability and thus the future, thereby altering the flow of the universal time stream. These beings, which are each referred to as a nexus, act as the keystones of the multiverse and are crucial, literally, to its ultimate coherence and stability. Now, the nexus beings are vigilantly watched over by cosmic forces such as the Time Variance Authority and the Timekeepers to be aware of any temporal changes that the nexi may cause. And don't forget, we are actually getting the Time Variance Authority, or the TVA for short, into the MCU through Disney Plus's upcoming Loki. Now, one Nexus alone supposedly exists on each of the parallel worlds of the multiverse. And each being also acts as sort of a node, which is the point at which lines or pathways intersect or branch. And then essentially there we have the multiverse. Or it could be we have the multiverse of madness. Okay, that is where we could be going for that. Now, I do want to briefly touch on Evan Peters, who I think we know now, or can assume, is not the multiverse Quicksilver, and really isn't Quicksilver at all. Some think he is Mephisto. I don't think so. He's too young, and I think the devil should always be hot. Others think he could be Nicholas Scratch, which is Agatha's son, and that idea kind of comes from the fact that her bunny is named Scratch. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's actually the human form of Blackheart, who is Mephisto's son. Because I still stand by that Mephisto is the big bad of this series and will be the instigator in Wanda's spiral into madness. Oh my god, also he could be the Oscarum. See, rabbit hole. Okay, the Oscarum is a shapeshifting demon that did work for Mephisto, but they had a huge falling out because the Oscarum was in love with the she-demon that was betrothed to Mephisto, and then Mephisto tricked the Oscarum to kill the she-demon, and then after that happened, he actually bound Oscarum to the Darkhold, which is a book in Agatha's villain lair. This is how this becomes a rabbit hole. Like, there's all these possibilities. We have Mephisto, Blackheart, Oscarum, Dormammu, we have Chthon, we have possibly Doom. Like, it's literally a rabbit hole that we could go down of possible villains and theories and storylines pulling from the comics that could be happening in WandaVision. Literally brain comic book panels bleeding from my ears. We can actually discuss very briefly Monica Rambeau. A lot of people are super excited because they're like, Photon. So it is possible that she will be Photon. It's also possible she'll just be Spectrum, which is who she's been since 2013. But it does tie into the fact that we do now see when Monica completely goes through the hex, she gains all of her powers. So she becomes a mutant. So I do think we could see the reverse of the House of M. I wonder if that hex will, as I said in my last video, go completely around the world and then Wanda will go nuts and it kind of explodes. So it's the reverse of no more mutants and becomes more show me mutants, because clearly Wanda saw what happened to Monica when she came back through. She sees that Monica now has power. She sees this has been created. So I do wonder, as I said, if we're going to have a reverse of House of M. No more mutants, create all mutants. And that could be how we get the X-Men into the MCU. As always, these are just theories. These are thoughts. This is the rabbit hole of being a comic book lover. If you guys have any of your own theories and thoughts, please comment down below. It's what makes my job so much more fun, because we get to have a discussion, a kiki, and bounce ideas off of each other, which makes this, well, completely worth it, honestly, because you guys as a community are my favorite community, period. Exclamation point. I'm Jason O'Phil. If you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification button so you know when we drop a new one. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time.